Okay, this is Andrew. I've been through this a few times. I'm going to try to do it again to make it a little better. I wasn't really happy with the first one. This is going to be more specific to the actual code we just discussed in the tutorial one. Alright, so basically this is what your web page is going to look like, something like this. And here you have a text box, right? And here you have a text box. So the user can input the data, which is up to 16 characters, and can input the password, which is up to 16 characters. Now, basically you have four functions: the add round key, sub byte, shift rows, and mix columns. Here's your four functions. And let's take a look at add round key. We've already looked at the code of add round key. So basically you have password going in to add round key, and it's in a string, and you have data that's also in a string. So these two strings are going into add round key, and out of add round key we use that dynamic. Remember the dynamic array to build an array to come out. So that array coming out is going into shift rows, and then from that point you can see basically these arrays are just you're gonna put an array into substitution bytes, right? It's gonna output an array that just goes to this lookup table and puts the correct values in the array. So you're passing the arrays between the functions, except for when you go out and mix columns, and now you gotta call add round key. The problem is add round key only accepts strings, and the strings it's accepting from the password remains okay because it's just getting it from the web page. So let's say this is the password. It's okay, but the data is now an array and it needs to be a string. So that's where you'll use the implode function. You may not be able to use it in the function call. If you can't, you're going to have to use it inside the actual function add round key, and you're going to have to say, maybe have a counter, say if it's greater than 0, because the first time through you don't want to do the implode function, but if it's greater than 0 after that, do the implode function every time. You get the idea. It's pretty simple. So anyway, go through that and try to work that problem out. There's two ways I'm giving you here. Is one implode, and two is a counter in the add round key. Okay, so let's go through the steps here of the pseudocode. This is not real code. This is just pseudocode. Generally, that's how you try to solve problems. Is you take the problem and you put it in an algorithm or a flowchart, and then after you get the flowchart, you try to put it into pseudocode, which is, there is official code for pseudocode, but I'm just using my more general right here that makes sense to me. It's pretty clear. And then after this, you convert it into whatever your actual programming language code is that you're using. Okay, so one other thing I like to say is, they often run computers for weeks to solve a problems like genome sequencing or whatever, and nobody knows the answer. And you don't know the answer to this because we're not doing key expansion, so it's not going to look exactly like if you ran it through an AES encryption somewhere. And also, we're not doing decryption, so you can't go back and see if you got the same value you started with. So you're going to come out with some answer here, and you don't really know if it's right or not, which is a common problem. But what you can do is look at verify that the functions are operating correctly. And that's why I want to see on the web page these state tables between each function, right? So for example, if you go into shift rows, right? If you go into shift rows, let's say this one's going into, let's say this is the data coming out of round key, an array, and it's going into sub bytes, all right? Out of sub bytes is this state table, and into sub bytes is this state table. Okay, so all I have to do is go down here and look. So let's say H3 is going in the first element, the 0 element. That's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And here you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, down to 15. So again, let's say you have H3 in your 0 element. And I go down here and I look, oh, here's H and here's 3, and this is the value, and it's right there. Then that's in the right spot. I can quickly visually, same with shift rows or mixed columns, I can easily tell if the result is what it's supposed to be and if the function is operating correctly. And you can too, so you'll know whether your code needs more work. All right, great. So that should be clear. So let's go ahead and look over here. The first thing you want to do is probably return some array after calling an add round key. So you call add round key, and this is X, right? It's coming out of X right here. Now you hit the loop 9 times. Then you go into subbytes. So this array is going in, this array right here, X, is going into subbytes. All right, so x1, you call subbyte with this x out of add round key, and x1 is the return value, right? So really this is x1. I'm not going to go through that whole picture scene again, but so x1 is the array that's coming out of substitution. And then what you want to do is call shift rows with x1, with the one coming out of here, and put that in x2, and then call mixed columns. Mixed columns is going to give you x3, and then you want to call x4. And don't forget, you're going to have to address the problem that this is a array, and it's wanting to go and add round key is looking for a string, so you have to convert it. We've already discussed that. So in loop, then do the subbytes using the last value of the loop, x4, y1. Then shift rows is y1 is y2. You get the idea. And then again, don't forget, again, this is the same problem coming out of that shift rows. Coming out of that shift rows is an array, and this guy is looking for a string for the data, so you're going to have to do a conversion there. And then when you get the final answer, just put it up here on your web page in that same format I did in add round key. Like I said, you don't have to use the for loops. You can save, I kind of discussed that in the video I took down. You could save that in strings and then put the string up. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do. This is not saying you have to do it this way. I'm sure some of you have probably already finished, but if somebody's stuck somewhere, you're missing some concept somewhere. I'm hoping this helps get you over that hump. So I hope it helps you out. I did put a lot of work into these videos. I've had to do them over a number of times, but hopefully this will work whenever I teach the class again, so it's probably well worth the effort. All right, thanks. Have a good night.